It's almost a done deal, folks. At least that's what they're saying in Brazil. Marca came out as well and said, hey, there's an agreement already between the Brazilian Confederation and Carlo Ancelotti. Lots of information that's been going around, but there's still a lot of uncertainties in terms of what will happen with Carleto in this. He'll end the season with Real Madrid. Will he not? When will he join the Brazilian national team if he does end up finally coming to terms with them, or everything comes up uh, being finalized, let's say, because there is an agreement between Carlo Ancelotti and his group and the Brazilian Confederation, as they said. That group of people have given, when I mean that group of people, I mean Ancelotti and his group have given conditions as to what the salary expectations are, the work expectations are, and they gave them to the CBF. The CBF said, yep, I'm cool with that. And based on what's being reported, at least in Brazil, they're talking about somewhere along the lines of now I had to multiply that. It's between 800 and 900,000 dollars US dollars a month. So give or take anywhere between 10 to 11 million dollars a year to coach the Brazilian national team. That would make him the highest paid national team coach. In actuality, he would surpass Thomas Tuchel. Thomas Tuchel, Mauricio Pochettino, who's the coach of the United States, and Didier Deschamps is the other one, if memory doesn't serve me right, talking off the top of my head. The details in regards to Ancelotti, he would be ending the season, or at least this is where the plan is. He would be finishing the season off with Real Madrid. There's still a Clásico to go. They've already lost the final of the Copa del Rey. They've already been eliminated from Champions. So the only thing they have going for them is to see if they can win the league, which they're looking to chase down Barcelona in actuality. He would not coach during the Club World Cup. That would be, or at least everyone's insinuating that it would be Santiago Solari taking over for that tournament. And then they'll see who ends up being. Obviously, the odds-on favorite to become the next coach of Real Madrid, and that's been talked about throughout, is Xabi Alonso. The question here is, will Florentino Perez say yes? Most likely he would, despite Ancelotti having one more year in his contract with Real Madrid. And many already saying, look, the dressing room's already worn out. His influence isn't the same as it was in previous years. Winning wears you down, while losing erodes you. And the not so favorable results for Real Madrid have eroded a bit in the dressing room. At least that's what they're saying. They want, and when I say they, the Brazilian Confederation, want Ancelotti on the bench for Brazil in June, or whenever, during the next during the FIFA International Day, when there's World Cup qualifiers for Brazil, and that will be something to be noted, and that's one of those things. Hey, we need you by this date, and it's very serious because that's something that they need to have done immediately. Right now, Juan, if you remember, former Roma defender, he's currently the one that's kind of working around and doing everything for the Brazilian national team, and looking at scouting at players and seeing who should be called up and who should not. They don't want that situation that they have him on the bench in the summer for the World Cup qualifiers. So that's something to be looking at when it comes to this. Ancelotti, also the contract with Ancelotti. Is it going to be a long one? Is it going to be a short one? And of course, a lot of this information, you got to give credit to Hernan Andre over at World Sporchi in Brazil. He's done a great job of covering everything that's going on. The speculation there is it going to be a long contract? Is it going to be a short contract? And when I mean by long, well, let me start in reverse. By short contract, is he going to go and this probably sounds a little bit more logical, is Ancelotti taking over in June, and then having a 1-year contract with the Brazilian Federation until the end of the World Cup, and then have another long contract leading up to 2030. That could be the way. That might be the more practical way to look at it. Or just say 5 years. That could be another way to go. It's still in the works, and that's why things haven't been so fluid and haven't been so straightforward in saying, hey, Carlo Ancelotti is the new coach of Brazil. No, there's still a lot of steps that need to be gone through in a legal manner in order to finalize all this. So step by step, things are kind of falling in place from that end, and waiting on the Real Madrid end, which most likely should be fluid as well. That all being said, who's going to come? No one knows yet, because the most obvious thing would be for David Ancelotti to be coming over and being his assistant, although there's been speculation that David Ancelotti wants to go and blaze his own trail at this stage of his career. He's shown that he can tactically do things. He's the one that tactically organizes the team for all intents and purposes. He's the one that organizes and sets up practices for all intents and purposes, because at this point, Ancelotti, the comparison from a responsibility standpoint, because Ancelotti's good at delegating and saying, okay, fine, so he has a clearer mind on other things, would be, and don't take it me comparing one to the other, although you could compare them knowing the respective resumes, is Sir Alex Ferguson. Ferguson was more of the overseer of everything, and he was able to delegate things to his assistants, to his tactical, to, you kind of get the drift. And Sir Alex oversaw all that, and he was able to make the final decisions on certain things and handle the relationships with players. So look at it from that perspective there. Now, again, of course, comparing and not really intermingling careers per se, but just styles. Let's leave it that way. So no one knows who will be coming with Carlo Ancelotti should he end up saying yes and everything ends up, every I is dotted and every T is crossed. So it will be a fun summer for sure when it comes to seeing Real Madrid. We'll see what Santiago Solari, who has been speculated to be the interim coach when Ancelotti, and if Ancelotti leaves, how they'll do at the Club World Cup. We'll see what Ancelotti is capable of doing in Brazil, if he's finally able to go to Brazil. And we'll see how things play out, because it will be a very interesting summer to see those comings and goings, especially at Real Madrid, the biggest club in the world, and at Brazil, the biggest national team in the world historically.